Delighted to say Conservative Commentator Benedict Spence is live with us in the studio. Morning to you.
Oh, I have to say, I can't wait for that press conference. I can't wait to hear what he has to say.
I'm fine, as long as he doesn't dance.
Emergency dental care for all. That'll, you know, whatever it is, I reckon it's going to be good.
Including Zach Polanski, with
especially
all due respect.
Zach Polanski, right at the
There's no
start.
excuse in this
There's
day and
not,
age, is
no.
there?
I mean, we're British. Famously, we're all supposed to have bad teeth. But come on, like, that's overkill.
We do actually have dentists.
Allegedly.
You don't have to use pliers on your own teeth. Anyway, should we talk about something more important? Again, I said
this. Is it bathrooms? Is it?
Silly thing.
There
But
we
again,
go.
what's the problem? Andy Burnham, Prime Minister, when he's not on holiday, he said in recent months before becoming Prime Minister that he doesn't really see, he's just like, everyone needs to be a bit more relaxed. What's the problem, about who uses which bathroom? Yeah, easy to say when you're a man. I mean, yes, women do use men's bathrooms sometimes. I have been guilty of this in the past, when it's literally a queue about a mile long for the women's 2 cubicles, and the men have got 2 cubicles and urinals, and it's like, oh, come on, can we please? Now, I do think, I understand the imposition on the men. I do get that. But I don't think the men are going, oh, my God, this person might be about to sexually assault me or rape me. I don't think that's what men feel. They're going, oi, I'm in my loo. We know about the reasons why we have single-sex spaces, whether it's changing rooms, whether it's toilets. I would have thought rape counselling centres and refuges for women would be rather even more obvious ones, hospital wards and the like. And yet, for the last quite a few years, trans activists have basically said, no, trans women are women, I lie, factually untrue, and that they have the right to be in all of those spaces. And it doesn't mean, and by the way, when they say trans women, they do not mean men who've cut everything off, had a load of drug treatment and could pass as women. They mean a bloke who says, my name's Sheila right now, and they've put on a dress or not. Usually they just like putting on the underwear, let's be honest, and claim to be a woman, who are clearly a threat to women and girls. Basically, we've got new guidance, comes into force today. Single-sex spaces open to the public, such as toilets and changing rooms, whether they're in a sports centre or a cafe, should be based on biological sex. This was a ruling from the Supreme Court in April last year. 16 months on, we've finally got this guidance in force. It was published in June, now in place in England, Wales and Scotland. Different things apply in Ireland. And trans rights campaigners have called the guidance unworkable. Huh?
Yeah.
On what plane?
Unworkable just meaning we're not going to do it.
We're
That's
not
all
going
that
to
it
obey
means.
the law.
That's all that it means, because of course it's entirely workable. It's very straightforward. It's very obvious. Here is one bathroom, here is another. This one has M, and if you turn the M upside down, you have W. Wonderful. Everybody knows where they go based on their biological sex, what they were born as. You can choose. It's really easy to do that. Or maybe, if you're having a real identity crisis, there might be a disabled one. It tends to be the law that there is. And if it's about your dignity or something about that, you can go to the disabled one. They're there for people who are disabled to be able to go to the bathroom with dignity. But you don't have to go to the other one. You have 2 choices already.
I mean, again,
you don't
there'll be
need the
places where
third.
that's not available. But, well, here's a phrase we don't hear enough in public life. Tough titties.
Yes, go in the bush.
That's what I say to you, tough titties.
Be in the bush.
It's the idea that 51%, that's what we are, 51% of the population should accommodate the needs of, the desires of 0.0001% of the population because they feel uncomfortable. And what I love is, my favourite argument I get from people who are trans activists about why they call themselves trans women, they're not, they're trans-identified men, call them what they are, but why trans-identified men could not possibly use a men's toilet because they would face the physical threats of attack by men in toilets. It's almost like that's the reason why women don't want men in their toilets.
Yeah, I find the terminology. You trip over the terminology all the time. I would like to be able to use todgily challenged as I would like that, and I don't. I think everybody understands what that is.
Most men who claim that they are again, I would just say you either believe or pretend to be a woman. Some people genuinely believe, and I think those people deserve kindness and respect. The men who pretend to be, I don't think they do. I think they should be. I think we should look at their hard drives.
I was going to say, you say if you put your money where your mouth is, you go through all the surgeries and you do all of that sort of thing, and you completely re-augment your life, you at the very least deserve dignity.
Yes.
But if you are indeed Phil and you are balding and you have a beard and you just decide I quite like Victoria's Secret or something more downmarket,
Well, that's fine. Fill your boots, but don't do it in public life.
But I
I'm not
don't
interested.
want them in my bathroom either.
No,
frankly.
exactly.
I've got to be honest with you. I don't want to have to indulge, that.
No. Don't bring your fetish to work.
The removal of public shame, the indulging of fetishes and things in public, I really do just disagree with. And I think actually we could solve a lot of problems by saying, by the way, that overt sexuality and pushing of sexuality into the public sphere actually is not normal.
I have a very big issue. Okay. Again, massively support gay rights and. Again, I don't know why we need to have marches for gay rights anymore, because gay people have exactly the same rights as straight people in this country now, and quite rightly too. And I think, yes, there is instance of there is still homophobia. Yes, there will always be people, racist or homophobic or sexist, but they're not the majority, and by a long way not the majority. And yet I don't understand these marches, but also the fact that a lot of these things, like Brighton just had a Pride march, and we get a whole month. No, we don't need that. And then why are the marches in July? You already had a month. I mean, do we get... When's my month? I'd like to know. Oh, you get 11 months a year. No, really? But... I'm sorry, I digress. But the whole, gimp mask, sexual fetish, everyone in leather... Fine, that's for your bits. But that's not about gay rights. That's not about equality. Yeah. That's about you getting... That's about your preferred kind of sex. Can we not make that a civil liberties issue, please?
The only circumstances under which it's acceptable to wear a gimp mask in public is if you support Ipswich Town, in which case you do, you need something less shameful to go about.
Send your complaints.
But I was in Hastings the other week, of the weekend, and there were posters up everywhere saying, "Come to this talk on 100 years of queer history in Hastings," and I thought, my word, that sounds dull. Who on earth is going to turn up to this? What happened in this 100 years? I don't like
the word queer. Queer used to be an abusive word for gay people. Yeah. I won't use that but also queer also includes straight people. It's basically unattractive people with dyed hair and a lot of nose rings.
Yes.
Pretending they're interesting when they're largely not.
Yes, and it's the reclaiming of this abusive word and saying, but this is what I am, not gay, I'm something else, I'm something Italian. This used to be a taboo.
You're just weird looking and not very interesting.
Yeah.
I think we need to just be a bit more honest with people. I'm just sorry. Yeah. I'm old-fashioned that way. Anyway,
no
we digress.
Excuse for supporting Ipswich, though.
We're going to talk to Maya Forster. We'll have a rather more sensible conversation with her. But I do think this should be treated with this level of humour, because it is absurd that you can have trans rights campaigners being reported in the BBC. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. Their 5th paragraph: trans rights campaigners called the guidance unworkable. And we've often got Lambeth Council, now run by the Greens. Sorry about that, folks, but you voted for them. Tough. Live with the consequences. They're basically urging the council not to enact this. If it's legal, of course, they have to be careful with their legalese. If it's legally possible, and of course, it's not legally possible. And any council official paid for by you and me who doesn't enact the law should be sacked on the spot. Oh, by the way, this is going to blow your minds, right? This is going to blow your minds. Zach Polanski is delivering an urgent message to Prime Minister Andy Burnham. He's giving a speech in London. You'll never guess what he's talking about.
Oh dear, what is it?
It's not about Jews.
Oh,
yeah?
That's a relief.
I know.
Whoa.
It's not about Gaza.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not about trans people.
He has other issues.
It's about sounding the alarm, in his words, over extreme weather.
The climate.
He's actually talking about
the environment.
I know. Well done, Andy.
I was going to say, has he found a filing cabinet in the Greens head office? He's found a filing cabinet, opened it up and gone, the environment? Oh my word, guys, why did no one tell me about this? This is gold dust. We've had all summer and we've not doubled down on this.
The best thing we could do about the extreme weather we've had is basically making sure we have really, really cheap, affordable, abundant, secure energy, and that we all get aircon units.
I thought you were going to say that we plant more vineyards, because actually that was what I was looking at as the great benefit of
this.
This
also works for me.
English wine is actually really good. It's a multi-award winning now. Admittedly, none of our vineyards are on fire like the French's are, but, you take the advantages where you can get them. This year, at all the wine awards, we will be cleaning up.
Zach Polanski has just said, we are facing the biggest threat to this country since the Second World War. Extreme weather is now the new normal, and without action, the impact on people in this country will be incredibly grave. And I said all of that with a straight face, so well done me.
I'm sorry, that was my fault.
I lasted almost...
That's very much my fault. Sorry. I reckon you could have held it to the break if it wasn't for me.
We're coming out of an ice age. Coming out of an ice age, it's going to get warm. I think it's going to get warmer, colder, warmer, colder. I mean, so we largely do better in warmer weather. I'm intensely happy about us having warm weather. We're just going to have to redesign maybe our houses. I have a funny feeling. I've always had this. Each year I go, I'm going to buy an aircon unit. No, I'm not. Oh, no. The
This
moment
year
I
you
buy
will.
an aircon unit,
It'll get
and I'm
cold.
going to have to give in to this, I have a funny feeling we're going to have miserable grey summers for the next 4 years.
Do it now.
No, yeah, exactly.
Do it now. Really rain on their parade,
Yeah.
quite literally.
No, exactly. Look, let's go back to this early release scheme. 9,300 domestic abusers are set to be released under this scheme, along with the killers, including killers of PC Andrew Harper. 3,000 perpetrators freed annually before serving their full sentences over the next 2 years. I mean, this is the bizarre situation where rapists won't be let out and child groomers won't be let out, child abusers, but you'll let out people who have killed people, including police officers, but you also let out people who've beaten the hell out of their wives and harassed and stalked. The fact that they have a 25 to 30% reoffending rate, and that is, by the way, and when people talk about reoffending rates, look, petty thieves have a much higher reoffending rate because they literally get out and then they shoplift again, or they burgle again. But we are talking about getting conviction for domestic abuse. It takes a long time, and it's quite rare actually.
The evidence is harder to accrue by its nature.
You tell me one case where a woman often and her kids, has been killed in a horrible violent attack, and it's not the ex, the husband, the boyfriend. And that man has not had a long history of harassing. The woman's often had a panic alarm, you name it. This is going to open up the risk, a serious risk for women. Again, these men won't have time to be rehabilitated. They're serving a fraction of their sentence. This is very, very bad news. I wonder if we're going to see yet another change in policy from Andy Burnham as each category of criminal is exposed. Yeah,
this is going to be, as you say, especially for on the back of a government that was faced many questions over its attitude towards the safety of women and girls to do with things like migration, etc. This is going to be another one of those things that people use as a stick, rightly, I think, to beat it with. But the problem is, of course, it comes amidst the greater issue, which is the lack of capacity in prisons. What Andy Burnham, I think, needs to do to head this off, because I do understand that this is something that he has inherited, although he should have had a plan ready to go, given how long he's wanted to be Prime Minister.
A plan?
For. He needs...
What? To be Prime Minister?
He needs a plan now. Given the exponential rate at which the prison population is set to grow, he needs to announce, pretty sharpish, a number of more prisons being built, a timeline for that being built, if necessary legislation in order to speed that up. Because this is the other thing, actually. A lot of this modelling about how the prison population is likely to rise is probably based on the fact that so many people, as you've just said, are going to be released early having not been rehabilitated. They will say, well, maybe therefore it's not necessary. No, you need the spare capacity. And far too often in all walks of life, our state operates on the basis that just below capacity
at all times. Hospitals, prisons, everything.
You need to get out ahead. You need the capacity.
But also, don't build like 5,000, but we need to build 30,000 spaces.
And if they're sat there empty for a couple of years, that's a good thing, because you will
they shouldn't be, because you should be putting the people behind bars. Well, and the early release scheme. That's the thing about changing the law to have this just normalised. They want to have it normalised so they don't have to announce it each time. And so it's just happening. The idea that people who committed the most horrific violent crime should be out halfway through their sentence and everyone else a third through their sentence is just obscene. It is just obscene. And sentencing is a lie, as it is already. They should be serving at least 90% of their sentences. I don't know why not all. You should get extra penalties for bad behaviour, not time off for good behaviour. The whole thing is a sick decision.
But when
Andy Burnham's like, what can he do? Well, as we were talking to Mike Neville, former copper, there are loads of things they could do. Use women's prisons, army camps, get rid of foreign offenders. I mean, there's so many things they could do to make up tens of thousands of
spaces. But the fact of the matter is, even before this announcement came in, it was the norm that almost all prisoners, except the really serious ones, were let out significantly early. That tells you, actually, that the prison capacity is half of what it needs to be. Therefore, if you were to turn around and say 30, 40, 50,000 places, that's still not actually what it should be.
And the reason why we have more people behind bars is because we have more people committing crimes. And I think the reason we have more people committing crimes is because people don't go to prison unless they committed a serious crime. I mean, something like about 30% of people behind bars have committed a violent offence, a seriously violent offence, or rape or murder or thing. That's a very high demographic. But that's because if you get sentenced to anything less than a year now, you don't even go to prison. Those people. Do you think that the guy who stole my bag 2 and a bit years ago,
has been rehabilitated?
certainly that arrest warrant, August last year, Still haven't found him. Don't think he's left the country, apparently. Still haven't found him. He's been out and about, and they're like, oh, it's just stole your bag. Well, actually, it cost me a fortune, insurance and blah, blah, blah. But also, crucially, I'm sorry, but these people are out stealing every day. I don't think he stole my bag as a one-off.
No, it incentivises them to keep doing it because they know that there are no repercussions.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. It's both, when he came in, Keir Starmer said we need a different approach to justice and we put far too many people in prison and the system's not working. If what you want is actually a system that focuses more on rehabilitation than punishment, guess what?
Yeah.
You still need the prison spaces. You still need them in prison long enough to be rehabilitated.
And also, by the way, that costs a hell of a lot more. Now, I think that's money well worth spending.
I think so too.
I would also like to spend that money long before, was it Tony Blair said the called crime and the causes of crime. A huge number of people who go into prison are illiterate or semi-literate.
Yeah.
I mean, they're basically got their reading age is basically, that of a primary school-aged kid, if that. They're on drugs, coming from the care system, failed again and again. I think we should spend the money much earlier in looking at families and things like. There are lots more very practical things that we could do that could make a difference. But once you commit crimes, there needs to be a very clear signal. And again, I don't know why anyone's got a Game Boy or Xbox, whatever the hell people are getting allowed to play in prison. Or they say the prison officers, it keeps them quiet while they're locked in their cells 23 hours a day. Well, why don't we just give people books? That's the only option. And we'll give people literacy lessons. Countries like Sweden, they spend a fortune on their prison system. They have I think the lowest reoffending rate in the world. And by the way, prison systems are like, frankly, nicer than a lot of the hotel rooms we stay in.
Yeah, the Nordic model is very specific, though, and it works in a way. Well, Norway and Sweden, both, and Denmark as well. They have better systems than ours, but you know what? They are actually getting worse. What's actually making them worse? Well, as migration numbers go up and you get more and more people who are culturally not that way inclined, it actually becomes a lot harder to rehabilitate those people because you're not teaching them to be a good Swedish or Norwegian citizen because they've got no interest and also no reference point for that. Yeah. So that is also...
Very fair point.
That's an important aspect of all of this.
Yeah. Right, look, let's also talk about, related to the crime issue, Kemi Badenoch defending the selection of a former neo-Nazi as a Tory candidate. The Tories have offered Jewish groups a meeting with him to see how well he has been, reformed. And they've refused, and I think they're perfectly entitled to do so. But Kemi Badenoch said, look, you can just look at me and know I'm not a person who would be recruiting neo-Nazis. But this guy's Joshua Bonehill Payne. He's 34 years old. He basically was jailed for 3 years in 2015 for horrific anti-Semitic stuff online, promoting a planned anti-Jewification march in Golders Green, largely Jewish area. Created a poster for the event using an image of Auschwitz, so the rally would be an absolute gas. I mean, let's just joke. Now, I'm of the view you can joke about anything. That wasn't about a joke. That was about mocking. And there are people who live in Golders Green whose families, survived Auschwitz, for goodness sake. He sentenced to a further 2 years. He was guilty of harassing Luciana Berger, then a Labour MP, now Baroness Berger. She's Jewish, obviously. He called her a rodent, an evil money grabber. But, I mean, a series of posts. She said it was absolutely horrific. She's done an interview today just saying how absolutely devastating his sustained campaign was. She said, I still live today with the profound and deep impacts of those events. She had to go to court when she was pregnant, by the way. She said he had published reams of deeply racist, misogynistic and pornographic material about her. He also founded the National British Resistance, a far-right group. He also, small point, has an historic conviction for assaulting a police officer and burglary of a police station. Now, he now works as an anti-extremism campaigner. He's been reformed. He's been defended by Kemi Badenoch. She says, I believe in people in reform and redemption. Second chances. How... Second chances because you got in with the wrong crowd, you were involved in a pub fight, you might have committed shoplifting offence or something. How redeemed can someone be from this extraordinarily big, wide, long pattern of behaviour?
I think we have to hope that somebody can be. I think we also have to recognise that it is rare that it happens, but it does happen. Yeah. The tricky thing is, on the one hand, I'm sat here thinking, it's a shame that no Jewish organisations want to necessarily meet with this person.
I'd like to meet with him, but I'd love you to come on the show. Joshua Bonehill Payne, come on the show, please. Because
actually we do need more examples of people who are able to move away from that sort of thing. But at the same time, I understand why a lot of Jewish people, Jewish groups, Jewish politicians would be exhausted and feel, actually, no, I don't want to do this because of the sheer wave of anti-Semitism.
Was there no one else better?
Yeah, but it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because at the same time, you have to hope, well, here is hope that you can reverse the tide of anti-Semitism that is growing in this country. But still, especially I think for somebody like Luciana Berger, for whom actually this was a very personal thing.
I mean, she left the Labour Party because of the anti-Semitism.
Well, that's exactly the point. That it wasn't just that it was part of, there was lots of anti-Semitism, there was also a very specific risk here, a very specific sort of targeting. So I can understand that. But at the same time, you're right. We can't sit here and talk about the failures of the criminal justice system in this country, for instance, and its failure to rehabilitate people. And then when we find somebody who is rehabilitated, go, doesn't matter, cast them out of society. You have to hope that that kind of a person is not just turning to you and I and to other people who are respectable members of society and saying, look at me, but can also turn to other people who used to be that way inclined and say, there is a different pathway. But does that person need to be a counsellor? No, I don't think so.
Carry on doing your great work. Yeah. But again, he's certified by the Home Office to go into schools and things. But again, do I trust the Home Office or even prevent anyone to...
Certainly not prevent.
No, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't trust any of their judgment on this.
Yeah.
I'd really like to interview Joshua Bone-Hillpay. Come on the show. I know we put a bid in, the Conservatives, you can sort that out. If he wants to run as a councillor, be a public-facing role, he needs to be able to answer questions. I'm open-minded. I genuinely am open-minded. I believe in redemption. I believe in reform. I believe in second chances. But I also have a lot of sympathy for Luciana Berger, what she went through. And I think if this man had done any of this to me, or a member of my family, would I be going second chances?
Yeah.
I don't know.